So, Sheila, I'm very excited to talk to you about your latest single. But before that, here at Bionic Buzz, we're all about people's passions. I want to know where your passion for music came from that led you on this musical journey. Was a certain album, a certain live performance, or something that was natural for you as a child?
Well, honestly, I grew up in a rodeo family, so I grew up in Australia. My accent's a little bit confused these days. I've been in America long enough that it's not sure where it's from anymore. But I grew up in a rodeo family. My dad is an Australian champion bull rider, and my mum is an Australian champion barrel racer. So from a little girl, I was always around the country music scene or the rodeo scene. So I always loved music. But when I was 10 years old, my family moved to the US. My dad was a bull rider in the PBR bull riding. And I still remember we would travel to these rodeos, and obviously, you do a lot of miles in the truck. And it was the 90s country. And who doesn't just fall in love with music when you're listening to the 90s country? So obviously, it was Shania Twain and Tim McGraw and Reba and Garth and just all the greats. Um, and did I think I was going to be a singer? No. Did I love music? Yes. Um, I went home to Australia when I turned 12 and I started entering talent quests just because I love to sing, and I did not win. They were like, "You don't sound the same as everybody else. You're different. You sing with an accent." And but for me, I really took that as a compliment because I was like, "Well, that means I'm not like everybody else."
Mhm.
So now that means I literally have the chance to, make an impact. Um, so anyway, talent quest was not my thing. I just started singing the national anthem at rodeos, and that was kind of where I got introduced to like being in front of a crowd and performing. Obviously, it was just the national anthem, but I was at a rodeo one day and I seen a big tour bus parked, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just knock on that tour bus door and see if this guy has that opening act. And I was maybe 14 at the time, I think. And so I knocked on his door and he came to the door of craziness. And I was like, hey, my dad is Eddie Fisher, because my dad was kind of known in rodeo. And I was like, do you have an opening act? And his had gotten sick, ironically. And he's like, do you have a band? And I'm like, nope, I have karaoke tracks. So he put me on stage before him. And honestly, it was like 2 hours before him. There was nobody in the crowd, but I performed like there was 100,000 people. And he then asked my parents if I wanted to join his Australian tour he was doing on. He was going to the same festivals that the rodeos were at that we were competing at. So I did 3 or 4 shows with him, and then he ended up coming on board as my manager, and we co-wrote my first album together. And just one thing led to another. So obviously, it was that was probably the pivotal moment for me when I knocked on his tour bus door, because that's what helped the rest of my story align.
That is so inspiring. Wow. That is
Thank
really,
you.
I mean, you really took initiative to knock. I would have been scared to death to do that. And then I think like I like that you said that the talent shows that you weren't singing like everybody else, and like but
Hmm.
I think a lot of people would have given up after that, but you kept going. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, my dad always taught me from a young age that you know, the fear of failure stops a lot of people being successful in life, and that's one thing that my parents, they always would try. Whether they failed or not, they would try and give it a go. And so I was taught that from a young age, whether it was in the rodeo arena or whatever we were doing in life. That's one thing I will say that I'm very, very grateful that my parents taught me, because knowing going into something, knowing you're probably going to fail. Obviously, the talent quest, I knew I wasn't going to win, but I knew I needed the exposure, like for myself.
Mhm.
So I just had to be okay with, you got to be a good loser to be a great winner.
I love that. There you go. That's gonna be my next tattoo.
Look out.
Look at. All right, let's get into your new single, "Take Me Back to Texas." It's a great
Mhm.
song. Can you go through the writing process? Because you also collaborate with Grammy award-winning writer Jessie Dillon
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
Karyn, Rochelle, who was Garth Brooks' longtime singer. Wow, that's
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, my story, I'm just kind of going to fast forward everything as quick as I can. So when I was 16, I got a record deal in Australia and had great success there. Very thankful. Had 6 number 1 songs, and then I signed a recording contract in Nashville, and I moved my whole world from Australia to Nashville, including my band. And I remember Nashville telling me, you know, I used to wear my cowgirl hat and my boots, and they were like, you know, trade your hat out and your boots out for this different image. And obviously, when you're signed to record labels, you trust their guidance. So I remember being in Nashville and thinking how much I just missed my country roots because I now lived in a skyrise building in Nashville. I didn't wear my hat anymore or my boots. I wore high heels, which compared to cowboy boots are really uncomfortable. So I'm so thankful that I'm out of that stage right now.
Yeah.
But I just remember feeling like I missed that part of me. And I know Take Me Back to Texas is about like a relationship in Texas, but for me, it was also I just felt like the calling of going back to Texas. I used to go out to Kix Brooks's ranch in Nashville just to ride a horse because I just didn't feel the same without it. But when my record label shut down in Nashville, it was kind of a bit of I guess you could say a kick in the guts, honestly, because I felt like my opportunity in Nashville was taken away from me. So I had to just decide if I wanted to stay in Nashville and songwrite or move home to Australia or what I wanted to do. But I chose to stay, and that's when I wrote this song is when I was in Nashville. And obviously at the time, Jessie Dillon was just a young songwriter. And now, you know, releasing this song and she's multiple Grammy Award winner. It's just really cool to see how far people's career come. But coming back into the industry after taking, you know, 5 or 6 years from releasing a song, I wasn't sure what song made sense. Obviously, this time around, I'm able to release what music I want to release and sing about what I want to sing about because I don't have record labels telling me what I can and can't do, which is exciting. But obviously, I was like, okay, I hope I'm making the right choice here. But I do feel like this song shows my journey over the last 10 years, chasing my dreams and then coming back to Texas. And obviously now I feel like I have multiple homes, but Texas is home. And I'm married to a world champion rodeo athlete, Tyson Durfee. So Texas is a big part of my life and our family's life. So I just thought this song was, you know, the perfect one to come out of the box with.
That's awesome. And I love the music video for it too. I guess it really does capture the song's about. I mean, where'd you end up shooting that? It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was actually shot on our ranch in Texas and then a gentleman by the name of Ty Murray's ranch. He's a PBR bull rider as well, a world champion. But it was neat because we were able to shoot it here with our friends and our horses on our ranch. And it's definitely always going to be one of these special videos because it just, obviously, if you watch it, this is a funny story is it was like monsoon weather in Texas that week. It poured like 10 inches of rain nonstop. So we would literally be under these tents and umbrellas until the rain stopped and then run out and shoot one scene, jump back onto the tent. It was the craziest experience, but the video turned out amazing. So I'm very thankful for it.
Very cool. What's in the work for the rest of the year for you?
Oh my gosh, I feel like so much. So a few things. My husband had retired. Now he's unretired. So Tyson's rodeoing full time, trying to make the national finals rodeo again. So that just adds a little bit more complexity.
Yeah.
But I'm out on the road doing shows, and I've got two more singles to come out at the end of this year as well. So lots of music, lots of traveling. You know, it's for the longest time, I thought, well, maybe my time's over in the industry, but I think that it doesn't really matter how old or how young you are. If you have a dream and a passion, you still need to try because otherwise you're going to look back and be like, well, I should have, and I didn't want to be like that. But I'm sure I'm going to have some trips home to Australia because the song's doing really well there. It's top 20 on radio this week, so that's cool. So we're just hoping that it keeps climbing. So I don't know. We're just going to take each day as it comes and, you know, see what this year holds, but lots of shows and lots of traveling.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to have all your social media links down below. Everyone in the meantime can check out Take Me Back to Texas. It's streaming everywhere and the music video is online. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Let's talk down the road where future music comes out, all right?
Yes, we will. We'll have to catch up with the next single, but I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show and taking the time.